I was thinking Orange-kun from Code Geass.
Are you fucking trying to fight me right now?
Yes, I am. Let's go. Let's do it. Put him up.
Why won't Code Geass go away?
Because he keeps getting resurrected.
Oh, no. Oh, my fucking God. No. No. No.
Is that out?
No. John, no.
That is the best evil laugh. Wow.
Peach, no. All of you, no. Cammy is the only one allowed to talk the rest of the podcast. Hello and welcome to The Box, the Annie chat box, where 5 friends snuggle up in a teeny tiny space to talk about all things anime. I'm here, your host Cassie, to invite you and all of your friends, I suppose, to sit down with us in episode 111. All ones across the board. Very exciting. But before we go ahead and get everything unpacked from this teensy tiny box, I wanted to go ahead and introduce everyone who's here with me in this teensy tiny box. I'm not entirely sure those were words, but Cammy, how you doing today?
Hey, hi, hello. I think Teensy Tiny sounds super cute. And as someone who had to do, I had to record a info seminar for one of my finals, I made so many typos and like messed up words. I think I said books as vooks at one point. So no worries. You are in good company. And Teensy Tiny sounds adorable.
What is it called when you typo when you talk?
I don't know.
Everybody just chew on that for a little while.
Yeah, Wow.
Tongue-tied might be a good word. Thanks for speaking up, John. How about you introduce yourself?
Heyo, I am here. I had a long day at work and suddenly felt tired, but I am here. I will persevere.
We'll reanimate your corpse if it, collapses in exhaustion. It's fine. Yeah. And a very special guest is with us today. Good old Pete from SoundCloud / Save Our Progress. Yeah. We got to plug you guys at least 50 times to outdo what you did on your last episode.
I mean, I guess that's equivalent exchange, how that works. But yeah, hi, I'm Pete. I'm from the Save Our Progress sister or brother podcast in this case.
Oni-chan!
Yeah. That's us. But anyways, yep, I'm here. I tend to play lots of video games, take a break from the fighting games right now, and I'm, watching some anime, so it's nice to sort of sit back and talk about it.
Once again, that was soundcloud.com / Save Our Progress, all one word.
Thank you for the ASMR.
Yeah, damn, that was some tingles.
I'm always here for you.
It's like you're in my ear. Stop it. You're creeping me out.
Well, along with things that creep us out, or hopefully don't creep us out, I wanted to talk today about elements of anime that we really love and how important they are to us. So basically, when you watch an anime, what's the most important aspect to you? Is it the story? Is it the characters? Is it the animation? And if that aspect is missing, do you still tend to like the anime, or do you just throw it in the trash immediately? I say this because I often find myself going, wow, this looks so pretty, but the story is utter garbage. Do I stick around? Or, wow, this is a really good story. Why did Uzumaid get all the fucking good animation and this one didn't? And I kind of wanted to see if anybody else has similar stories, or maybe has an even, different aspect of anime that you really covet and want to keep safe and wish it was at every show.
Characters is humongous for me, honestly. If I can't connect to the characters, then it basically ends up being at best like this was okay for me. And on the vice versa side, if I really can relate to or am intrigued by the characters, a lot of times those end up being shows that are shuffled very high into like the anime that I hold very closely. So that tends to be a big one for me. I don't know. I think it's just because it's in the same way that like one decent skill I have, my academics be damned, but I like to connect to people and learn about people, and I think that crosses over into the way that I consume art as well.
Yeah, I think I could second that as well too. Where I think characters is such a huge factor for me, because one of the things that I'm sort of I have a bias, or I guess I fall for in terms of shows that get me really going, is a really good drama or good romance. But to have good drama and good romance, you have to have intriguing characters that have that sort of chemistry to make that sort of work. And like there are tons of shows that like they try to do romance or drama or anything like that, but their characters just are flat or just not, not people I want to root for. So that kind of is a turn off. So I feel like that's like the biggest factor for me. Like as long as you get good characters that have good chemistry with each other with the cast, I think that's like the secret sauce for me to make it work for me.
Sauce.
Yeah, the secret sauce. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be like
Delicious.
that with comedies as well. Like with
That's true.
certain exceptions, if you if the characters in a comedy aren't ones that you can latch on to for when the comedy doesn't quite hit, then it's just gonna feel even more of a slog when those slower moments that aren't quite making you laugh happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And it can be harder too, like because comedy is so subjective as well too. So I feel like there's even more emphasis on having a good fallback, on the non-comedy parts as well too. So just in case. So yeah,
That's a very good point. I think that I am basically in agreement with everyone here that characters are probably the most important part. I'd say secondary to me comes to the plot. I have a hard time. Sometimes I can love a character to death, but they're stuck in a story that's going nowhere, and that can actually sometimes ruin characters for me. If they have, and I guess, it's weird because I feel like characters and story just they itch into each other. They're so stitched together that it's kind of hard to pull them apart. It's hard for me to really get invested in characters if we don't have a good story, but it's really hard for me to get invested in a good story if there aren't good characters. So I feel like I'm really selfish and I need both. And if that's the case, I don't care if the animation looks like poo-poo. I'll just be really sad and wish that I'd gotten better treatment.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think for me, production isn't the end-all be-all necessarily of what I will think of a piece of work, but it definitely can either detract or certainly elevate, like definitely elevate a work. I was talking to Get about shows that deal with depression and and then I said something about I want people to watch March Comes In Like a Lion, and he's like, well, what's the difference in the way that the depression is portrayed? And I was like, it comes down even to the nitty-gritty of literally how a scene is drawn and framed and composed when Shaft does it in this series, that it's like so incredibly compelling. Like the story is elevated and completely shaped with the production, so it can really bring something up. But I think for me, if something has beautiful production but is missing good characters or story, to me, that's kind of like your floorboards, and it's just gonna fall through without that support.
Yeah, there have been
I like
times.
that.
There have been times where I've a series has caught my attention for one reason or another. I've gone to start watching it, and just it looks so bad. I just can't even stick around long enough to get to know any of the characters or experience any of the story. It's just turned me off completely, and I'm just like, why am I gonna bother if it looks this bad to even just at the start when you're supposed to be grabbing me and saying, this is interesting.
Do you have an example of one of those cases? I'm just curious.
The first one that comes to mind was a TV series version of oh crap, what was it called? Shadow Skill, that's it. I saw years ago I saw like 2 OVA or 2 movies of Shadow Skill, and I really enjoyed them. They were really well animated, really good, really interesting characters, really intriguing story. And then I discovered, there's a TV series. There's actually an anime TV series of this. Found episode 1, loaded it up, started watching it. Bad CG. Entire thing just terrible, bad CG, worst CG I've ever seen. And
Isn't After Lost? Because I am still frustrated, and I just want everyone to know how bad After Lost is. Sorry, continue. I just wanted to ask.
It was just... No, I haven't seen After
Go
Lost.
watch the first 5 seconds of episode 1. That's
I
all I'm
didn't
asking.
even make it 5 seconds into Shadow Skill TV series. It just... it looked so bad.
I mean,
damn.
I just instantly
you raise a
closed
good
it.
point with CG, because I feel like there are shows that I've heard have compelling stories to a degree, like Ajian, but I just haven't watched because I'm like, meh, it's like full CG, whatever. And then I'm making that unconscious like effort of saying, because it's full CG, maybe I won't check it out. So it's an interesting interplay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember some examples that were like, I was like, I made an assumption about something about a show, but then I heard like really good things about it, and just I kind of felt like, oh damn, I wish I could check it out. Though I guess I'll chime in though for me, for a secondary thing. I think I agree with story is also a really good thing. As I said before, like I really like a good like slice of life, romance or drama story to go with really good characters, but I can also say there have been times where animation was the thing that sort of carried me through as a good solid secondary for a show. And I can think of 2 good examples of where this happened for me. One show being Star Driver, that came out a long time ago. I think the characters from Star Driver were really interesting. They had like, I like the main protagonist and main 3 people on there. They sort of what carried it, and seeing the drama behind the love, between, them as friends and whatnot. So that was the first thing. And the animation I loved. I believe Bones did this, right? For a starter.
I can't remember. I can say that
so.
I watched the first couple episodes and I thought it was gorgeous, but I can't remember.
Yeah. So
I watched the entire
that
series.
gorgeous animation is what kind of like what drove it home for me, because I really love the design and the animation, and like the story of that is complete nonsense from what I remember of it. And like it kind of got really silly, and I guess that sort of silliness is what kind of gave me some sort of appeal to it, but it most certainly wasn't like the thing that was driving me to keep on watching it. And then the other example I could think of is Code Geass, where...
Why are you like this?
Because
Why
it's
does
me.
everybody keep bringing up fucking Code Geass? Fucking John brings it into our top 10 spoilers. Greg brings it up a week ago, and now can Code Geass please go away?
I think there's a reason why people keep on bringing up Code Geass, because some people actually
terrible.
like it.
It's terrible. I hate it.
But no, I will say the story and writing of that is most certainly not the peak thing of that thing that I would hold most dear. But I love the mecha designs and the animations and the fights, and like all of that is also kind of like some of the best I've seen from even Sunrise as well too. So that was also what carried a huge part of that show for me, along with the interesting characters as well too. So that's just my 2 cents on characters and animation, how they can sort of carry a show for me at least as well.
Nice.
I think that if I would surmise my tastes, if I were to put all of them on a table, one of them would be The March Comes In Like a Lion Cake, where it's layered with good characters, good story, and then just has this beautiful buttercream icing slathered on top that just makes it look like perfection. Next to it would be a cake that doesn't look that great, but has good substance and probably tastes good. Because I think at the end of the day, I have watched a few shows that have not looked the best, but they intrigued me enough I stuck around. And then there'd just be a little bowl of candy. And that's where the Aromaga senseis go.
Don't worry. I'm probably with you on that too.
But to be fair, Aramanga Sensei got way better of a budget than it ever deserved.
Yeah.
Mm.
I still need to see that
would be a
OVA.
fun topic. I need to see it as well. I think that would be a good topic as well. The shows we feel like didn't deserve the production they got. But I think the fact that we even can say this got a production it didn't deserve means that we do hold production in a high regard, even if it's unconsciously, because that is one thing that makes a show really pop and stick in your mind. Honestly, I don't remember shit about Star Driver, but when Pete just mentioned it, I remembered it because I remember that beautiful transformation sequence and that stupid robot, and I'm like, yeah, that was Thousand Ass.
Ah, hell yeah. That transformation sequence was legit.
Mm.
That crisp, yummy animation.
Ginga Bishorted.
Oh, and you were right, Pete. It is Bones, by the way.
All right, there we go. Bones
Hey.
still at it with the gorgeous animation.
Yes.
Well, Bones is very good. I love Bones.
They're on top of their game.
Another way that you can also just tell that production really does play a key element is when we get these shows that have sequels and are switched over studios and the production completely changes and then people's perceptions of the shows completely change.
Oh, I think
One
I know what
Punch
you're talking
Man.
about.
I was about to say, did I just watch One Punch Man just get fucking skewered and burned alive in front of me? Because I think I just did.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even seen it yet, but just from the things that I observe from people, and I mean the fact that it is a huge topic of discussion, just the production differences and how disappointed people are, that definitely can play into how much production's valued.
Yeah,
So-
and the thing that you bring up on that, with at least with that example, is I haven't watched One Punch Man the second season. I only watched a little bit of the first one, but JC Staff, I believe, did the second season, right, for
Yes.
One Punch Man. It's just kind of really weird to me because JC Staff is really capable of making some fantastic animation. One of the ones that comes to mind is the Index series, where there is a lot of flashy battles, like with the Clash of Science and Magic, with that sub-series that make for fantastic viewer for the viewers, the battles and everything. So it just seems weird to me. Maybe it just doesn't mesh with the Bones animation, I guess, with people thinking, oh, we're gonna get Bones
I think
production.
it was Madhouse who did the first season.
Yeah.
Oh, Madhouse.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, gotcha. But yeah, I mean, I just saying JC Staff can do good animation when they can. So it just seems weird to me.
I think that the problem with JC Staff might be, I think they're doing another show this season. I'm trying to find which one it is. Because the same thing happened with a few seasons ago, or any season when you've got I think Wotakoi and Persona 5 the animation came out in the same season, and one of them looked like dog shit and one of them looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where you get your stuff stretched them. And I'm looking right now. I believe there's 2 JC Staff shows this season. I'm blanking on the other one. Watch it be one of mine.
Just thinking about production, I'm sitting here with unlimited budget works sitting in my head.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you foldable. I guess that's another example as well too for Unlimited Blade Works, how that animation carried that show for me as well too.
Another one that came up for me was, without a doubt, Kekai Sensen, Blood Blockade Battlefront. Yeah, just absolutely carried by the production. And at first I was mad about the lacks on story and stuff, but then on retrospect, I was like, but the production was so fucking great that it was still a pretty good show. So, yeah.
And then I think another example of something that stands out to me production-wise, but also story and character-wise, is Mob Psycho 100. That show is... The first season was okay, and I think that I liked it a whole fucking lot. But then the second season came along and blew the first one out of the water, both production-wise and story-wise and character-wise. And I was like, damn. And I thought I had it good before.
That's even cooler when it all just amps up even more, and shows you how much value there is. That's amazing.
I'm trying to see if JC Staff is doing another fucking show. Maybe I imagined it. I might have imagined it, guys.
I do feel like that is kind of a trend, though, not even just with JC Staff, but like with Cloverworks. I know that happened before. And then I feel like there was one season, and maybe it was JC Staff, but Cassie, you had both of their shows. I recall that for impressions.
God, I can't fucking remember.
Yeah.
I think it was Angels of Death and something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
remember.
I think there was like a season where there was a few, like not just two. There was
Right.
3 or 4 different anime that season, all by the same studio, and they were just like, "This is why they all look so bad."
Why they do this? I mean, Mappa is. I think Mappa's doing that right now. I think. Let me investigate. Because technically,
isn't Mappa like doing that Kappa show right now as well?
Well,
too?
yeah, because they're doing Sada's on My and Dororo is still airing. So yeah, they're doing 2 right now, and they're both pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
It's doable. They just need to handle it with care, I guess.
I was wrong. One Punch Man 2 is the only thing they're working on right now, but they do have a certain scientific accelerator coming out up in July, so
Okay.
maybe they're putting a lot of staff towards that.
Huh. They're JC staff.
Aha!
Dang it, Pete.
This is
I
what
think
you
at
brought
the
me
end
here
of the
for.
day- Yeah, for sure. I think at the end of the day, it's just very interesting because I think I value different things when I'm watching the show. Like, as I'm watching a show, I'm going, what is it that I like about this that's going to keep me sticking around?
Yes.
One thing that I forgot to bring up, that is an example from this season, is sometimes when I have an option to watch it in a different medium and like it better in that medium, I'll skip back to it. So, like, for With We Never Learn, I think that show is nice. I think that it's okay, but I don't think it has the charm that it had when I read it in the manga, partially because of the production, not even gonna lie. There's a good example. We Never Learn, I hate its production.
That's really interesting you bring that up, because I have like, I could get that. Like, I'm gonna check out the manga. I like in the anime, but that reminded me, I have a similar feeling with Domestic Girlfriend, where I feel like the production on that is also not great, but it led me to check out the manga, and the manga is like one of the best like drama mangas series I've read in a long time. So yeah, like I totally get you on that as well too.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess that's another aspect. It's like, can I get what I'm getting here somewhere else and better?
Yeah.
Not even necessarily the same thing. Like in this case, it's, manga versus whatever. But even like, oh, here is a drama that has, not great characters or story. Should I keep watching this, or should I just go rewatch March Comes In Like a Lion?
Yeah. That was another conversation I even had with Get today about Orange, and I was like, look, if I'm going to recommend people check out Orange, I'm going to say the manga, because the manga is like spades over the anime, personally. But I'm not the only person I know that's also thought that, so.
Fun fact, I have both of the big books of Orange, and they've been sitting collecting dust on my bookshelf for the last, 4 years.
What?
I need to actually read them at some point. I'm so intrigued by it, and then I just haven't read them yet.
It's worth a read. It's good shit.
I'm trying to remember, what is Orange again? Like, what's that show again? Or series about again?
A girl gets letters from her future self.
Oh, okay,
because of regrets she had, without going into spoilers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to drop it all, but yeah, emotional, heavy drama, romance, friendship stuff.
Okay, all right, yeah, I remember checking out the first episode a long time ago. It's just so general Orange. It's just what was that again? Anyways, yeah.
At first, I was gonna be like, wait, are you referring them to Orange, the studio Orange? Because then you've got,
That's a mess of things.
Gym butts.
I was thinking Orange-kun from Code Geass.
Are you fucking trying to fight me right now?
Yes, I am. Let's go. Let's do it. Put him up.
Why won't Code Geass go away?
Because he keeps getting resurrected.
Oh, no.
Oh, my fucking God. No. No.
Is that out?
No.
Have I missed it?
John, no.
That is the best evil laugh. Wow.
No, all of you. No, Cammy is the only one allowed to talk the rest of the podcast.
Woo! This will be derivative real fast.
Joking aside, do you guys have any closing thoughts on this topic?
I mean, I agree with you. I think it's contextual at the end of the day, but we each have some of our preferences.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely think of some anime that definitely did not have anywhere near the best production behind them that I still really enjoyed because I enjoyed the characters and just the subject of the series, like Fairy Mom's Girls and Buddha Shinki. Definitely my brand of trash anime.
Yeah.
Listen, trash anime is a completely different topic.
But yeah,
I think that would be fun.
Characters is definitely like top tier thing.
Are you being a dump truck right now, Cassie?
Yeah, I am. Glad somebody got it.
But yeah, I think my closing thing is, I characters again and story and production are pretty good, but sometimes there be other things as well too that could keep me going. Like, hey, does your show have mechs? Cool. All right, I'll at least check it out. Hi, I'll know Zero.
Listen, the first season was okay. I'm never gonna watch the second season of that fucking show.
I kind of like both of them, but that's just me.
And you know what? That's okay. I'm glad that each of us are getting really close to our mic at least once this episode. John, Cammy.
Oh Lord. Okay, I gotta wait for it. Wait for the right moment.
Yeah. It's gotta be a surprise. Otherwise, it's not as good.
Yeah,
But
like I'm done like all my like takes for this episode, so otherwise it's expected now. So I'm done with that for me.
well, this might be a topic that may come up again when we talk about our review for today, which is a show that I passed from fall of 2018. So this is actually a little bit more of a recent anime than some of the ones we've been reviewing lately. And that is Irozuku Sekai no Ashita Kara, or Iroduku, The World in Colors. It was animated by Studio PA Works. They've done some really cool stuff, including Shiro Bako, a fan favorite and a Cammy favorite. I'm excited to revisit that in a few weeks. Everybody... Stay tuned.
Ooh,
There it is.
That was good.
There it is. Oh, there it is. They also worked on Hanasaka Iroha, a show that I have criminally not finished, but enjoyed what I have seen of it. And Nagi no Asukara, another show that I like a whole lot, but it also has a few problemos. I think a lot of people actually liked Nagi no Asukara.
Oh yeah,
And our
I actually
girlfriends.
really like that show.
It was very beautiful.
Need to finish it.
Of course you do, John. Of course you do.
Of course
Yeah.
I do. It's
I
me
think
we're
also-
talking about.
What's up, Pete?
I was just gonna say, I think there was also, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a Nagi no Asakura reference in this show as well too, an Easter egg.
Was it the snail boats? Because I saw those and I was like, that's the little fucking snail from Nagi no Asukara.
It was from the, I think it was from the painting. When they were entering the painting, there was the homes, and then there was the whales as well too, the flying whales. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, both of those sound familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if people play, or the people at PA Works paid homage to their previous works, especially one that was, I think that one was relatively popular.
Yeah.
And they are, and PA Works is very popular in general because most of their stuff comes out gorgeous, whether it's good or not, in your opinion. But before we go ahead and start talking about whether we thought this show was good or bad in our opinion, I'm going to go ahead and hit you with the synopsis.
Woo!
All right.
Despite the kaleidoscopic magic ingrained in everyday life, Hitomi Tsukishiro's monochrome world is deprived of emotion and feeling. On a night as black and white as any other, amidst the fireworks spreading across the sky, Hitomi's grandmother Kohaku conjures a spell for which she has been harnessing the moon's light for 60 years, to send Hitomi back in time to the year 2018, when Kohaku was in high school. Hitomi's mission seems unclear, but her grandmother assures her that she will know when she gets there. Following a trip through time aboard a train driven by a strange yellow creature, Hitomi finds herself in a stoic artist Yukito Aoi's room, and his drawings flood her world with color. What is Hitomi's purpose there, and why do Yuito's drawings return such breathtaking color to her drab world?
Good fucking job, Cassie.
That was a pretty good fucking synopsis.
Yeah.
I'm actually proud of you. Good job, Mal.
Yes.
Nick, I'm pretty sure it's a bus, not a train.
I don't think it really matters.
Yeah.
Well, guess she got busted.
I mean, it looked like a train to me from the inside, but I don't think the way she got there really matters. She was
Not
sent
really.
back in time.
No.
And she finds herself in a world that she doesn't understand why she's there. And to be fair, I probably would have been fucking confused too if my grandma just walked up to me one day, didn't really explain anything, and sent me 60 years into the past. Pretty bitch move on grandma's part. But she had her reasons, and I think that the way the story unfolds is very interesting. And that's where we'll go ahead and get our start, is what's going on with the story? What do we like? Do we feel like it was well done? And where it may have been a little half-baked.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Why don't you start us off, Cass, on this?
Well, I was kind of opening up everybody's...
I could do it. I could do
Okay.
it. Teacher, pick me.
Look at you, you cute little one bouncing on your heels in the back. You go, girl.
So right off the bat, I really enjoyed the fact that this was another light fantasy sort of show from PA Works after Nagi no Asukara, where you basically have a relatively grounded world with just a little bit of fantasy element to it. In this case, it's the fact that we have magic users, and in Nagi no Asukara, we had people that lived in the sea. And I appreciate the way that both shows use magic to bring up very real world metaphors and and social topics. I do think it's cool that they try to bring these up through a supernatural twist. That was something I really liked just about the story at the outset. What did you guys think of the magic element?
I want to say, like, I think it's really interesting, like, that at least when going back into time, I was assuming that, like, maybe magic hadn't, like, got its ground in the world yet, because you see at the very beginning, like, it's obviously in the future, and it's, like, all scientific advancement and technology, and it has magic, and I thought, like, oh wow, man, the world has changed in a while. But I was still, like, kind of surprised that it came back to our current time, but yet magic was a thing that is, like, that is a standard or part of the lives of the current world. So I thought that was a really interesting take on, like, what our current lives could be like if magic were, like, a part of it. If you just buy it at a store, like some stardust or whatnot to do, like, maybe, you know, lighten the mood in an exhibition area or whatnot or something, you know.
For sure. I really liked that as well. And they easily, like you said, Pete, they could have made her this weird foreign entity in the world and made her the only magic user in the past, and then that would have made her stick out like a sore thumb. And I don't think that that's what the story wanted to do, so I actually really enjoyed the fact that her using magic was just like everybody else having some sort of special talent, and they thought it was cool or interesting, but she was welcomed into a group, not as an outsider, but as part of the current climate that was going on at the time. And I thought that was a nice little touch. It made things more believable, like her making a group of friends so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The setting definitely reminds me of this one quote that I need to look up and figure out who it is actually a quote of. But it goes something along the lines of, to make the world look fantastic, make the fantastic mundane. And in this case, like, yeah, there's magic. What about it? It is just something that you can go to a shop and buy this magic dust and just sprinkle it about, and you'll have magic. And that's something anyone can use. Sure, you've got, like, Kohaku and Itami who can actually use magic, but they've still... That's not like, oh, they're amazing people because they can use magic. It's like, yeah, they can use magic. There are people that can use magic. That's not anything unusual.
Yeah. It's just really an interesting take on the world with that,
Yeah.
like, on a what if on that.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think that it helps get Hitomi into the place that she needs to be. Because this is only a 13-episode show. And if she spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes learning that maybe she shouldn't use magic in public, this would have been a completely different show. I think that her being welcomed into her friend group and the people who help her change and grow as a character, which I'll get into much later when we're in the character section, helps the story move along at a decent pace. I'd say that when it comes to the story, and another thing that we could talk about is the pacing, it's pretty decent for the most part in keeping you intrigued with the little things, but does like to lull on the mundane a little bit too much, I think,
Maybe.
at times. And then at other times decides, oh wow, we gotta fill the space with something. Let's go with some generic tropey things. And that makes the story that had up until that point been very interesting and different and something that made it stand out among other things in its genre, made it more, I don't know, I guess not as interesting anymore to me.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. I have a point in my notes where I just talk about the fact that there were some really cool themes that were explored in this show, but a lot of the time, narrative tropes and cliches bogged the pace and execution down for me for a lot of the series, particularly love triangles. I said lack of direction, and I feel like in some characters they did it well, but it's also a theme that I have seen tried and tried and tried again. So when it came up here, I was like, okay, and they didn't really do anything like particularly interesting with it. And there were times that characters... I'm split on this. There were times that I do feel like characters wouldn't say what they were feeling, and I got really annoyed because it was just like the roadblocks. But there were other times that the show addressed when that came up, and then they moved on. So that was kind of a split deal for me. When it was intrusive, it bothered me, but otherwise it was pretty okay.
I've definitely got notes in my... I've got notes towards the start of me watching it that's like, oh, there's obvious setup for such and such here, and then later on it's like, and there it is, and because you can see it coming from a mile away, and
I hate that.
Yeah, I agree. There was just some very obvious tropes and cliches and predictability, and all of those plot lines were something that really bogged the show down.
They were, because they left less time for interesting plot points that come up towards the end to really have enough light shed on them as well. Yeah. That's another time when I get really frustrated is if you want to have your love triangle, have your love triangle. If you want to have your, I don't know if I should be friends with my friends who likes my friend who confessed to my friend bullshit, fine. As long as it doesn't come as a detriment to the rest of the story you're trying to tell. And unfortunately, in this case, it did. There are a lot of story points that are dropped towards the end that are very interesting, such as the reason why Hitomi doesn't like using magic. That's something that we know from the moment she appears on screen is that she hates magic. And we only get the answer why towards the end. Yeah. And it's so rushed and introduced that we never actually get a conclusion as to why she may have come to the conclusion that she could use magic or could love magic or get her colors back, or if she's ever going to have resolution with what ruined that for her in the first place. I think they do reach a conclusion, but it could have just been done so much better if they had more episodes and more time that they didn't waste on stupid drama bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I think it's fine to have like I found the drama interesting, but I do feel like, as you said, they're left less time to be able to do proper build-up of certain solutions that they came up with, where things just seem to drop at the drop of the hat. You know, it's like, oh, so this is the reason for this and that. Like you said, like Hitomi's like thing with magic and how that changed so suddenly in like one episode. Whereas I wish that could have been drawn out and built upon properly.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it lessens some of the stuff that they set up with the characters that we're supposed to care about too. For example, Hitomi and Aoi becoming close, it's because they mutually are able to help heal each other with their own talent, whether it be magic or drawing, And while we understand to an extent of how Aoi is able to help Hitomi, we never really get to understand what's going on with Aoi or what his issue is that Hitomi is helping him resolve.
Yeah.
And that is very frustrating for me because that is one of my favorite parts of this show.
Yeah,
Right.
there's like hints of it, but it's not enough hints for us to really put a full picture together. And like, would I like them to go, yeah, this is what's happened? Sure. Would I like, or even if they did just like sprinkle a few more hints so that we could put it all together ourselves, sure, I would like that too.
Yeah.
But we just got, there's a tiny bit here, tiny bit there, and it's just so many gaps to this puzzle of what his deal is that it's just, ultimately we can only speculate as to what the issue is.
I honestly just wanted more Aoi in general. Like, there were times, specifically in the middle, during all that love triangle stuff, that I, like, forgot he was a part of the cast. And then he'd, like, show up on screen, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he fucking exists. He's supposed to be, like, a key role here. But I just totally forgot because we shoved him to the side.
He's barely around.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this sucks, because... And I wanted to care about the connection that he and Hitomi have, and I do to a degree, but I wanted more small, genuine moments between them. I think a part of the show where they did get to that was this time when Kohaku's like, I have a theory. Hey, you two, I need you to help me, like, experiment. And she kind of just takes them around the school, and these situations happen, and I really loved those little moments to get a better sense of their chemistry. Like, and I wish that the show had done a little more than that, because sometimes it just felt like it was there for the sake of the connection piece. And the connection piece and that theme is so good, but, like, I don't know, I wanted a little bit more meat from it.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to throw out is I thought that episode 6 was one of the best episodes in the show to really display what those two characters were feeling and thinking. Granted, there is some touches of misunderstanding and eye-rolling misunderstandings that go on in that episode, but there's a lot of visual storytelling, and that's something that the story does a really good job of doing with its production, is having you look at something and notice that it is significant and then applying it elsewhere. The golden fish being one of those big things.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
And when Hitomi can see color and when she cannot. And I think that that's one of the things that made episode 6 so important to me, because they really started establishing this connection of healing between Aoi and Hitomi, and then they poo-pooed on it for the rest of the show. But that episode was so damn good, and it shows that there was so much potential for this story to be something very special.
Yeah.
It just fell short in the second half, and I'm really upset about that. I'm really sad.
Yeah.
I want to bring up quickly something you brought up on there, like that I'm glad you did, is about that the show does a lot of times shows the shots of the point of view from Hitomi where everything is black and white. And I'm really glad that the show does a good job of reminding the viewers that Hitomi can only see black and white, because they could easily just said like,
it,
you know,
and not
said
executed it.
Exactly, yeah. But they keep reminding the viewers of that, and I feel that helps with, at least with episode 6, as you said, when she starts seeing colors, that helps lend impact to that moment, because then you start seeing that fade to colors, and then you start seeing like, oh wow. Whereas if suddenly she said, oh man, I see colors, but they didn't do anything to help emphasize how she couldn't see it, then it would have less impact. So that's something I really like that they do to help remind the viewers about her circumstance on this, on that.
Yeah.
For real.
Yes.
And it actually showed a great connection between the two of them that I was really intrigued by. So for sure, I was really stuck in that moment. I think I even messaged Cammie on the side and was like, episode 6 makes this entire thing worth it. This is the best episode ever. And they could have taken episode 6 and a couple of the other episodes and made it a full-length movie instead of a 13-episode show, and I think that this would have been a better story, in my opinion.
Sure, yeah.
But Yeah, that's just how I feel. Does anybody else have anything to say on the story before we shimmy on into characters?
Go Pete.
Okay. So the thing I want to say is, yes, like I agree a lot with all the like tropes, like kind of have like bogging down like some of the potential with the show. But I guess now that I think about it, this probably would be better with characters now. But I kind of want to, I'll say this for characters, but in terms of the story, though, like I feel like I actually kind of liked a lot of the many things that they're explored on the second half of the show. I think one of my favorite episodes was like episode 8, I believe, which it goes into what's her name, Kirumi, yeah, and her like what should I be like passionate about and stuff, and having like little moments where it kind of like delves into characters or what they're thinking about, or you have with Asagi with how she has a chemistry with her family, between her and what's his name, the leader of the show as well too. Just sort of seeing the little moments of like, oh, how their families get along. I like that they sort of like put that along, like having those little moments peckered around through the story to get more background of the characters and how they sort of interact with each other as well too. And then like even seeing Chigusa, just working around, and working with Aoi, and just like seeing how he interacts with everybody as well too. Just I like sort of the set pieces with and how they sort of interact with each other in terms of how when the story is going along. I don't know. That's sometimes the thing that sort of like stuck out to me, at least on this.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. That would be a great way to start on characters if you guys are cool with transitioning.
Yeah.
Sure.
All I have left on the story, and I'll go into spoiler room, is that like I was relatively like pretty okay emotionally with this show. Like, but then the like second to last scene in the last episode made me cry, and I cried.
Me too.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that. But like, I was not expecting to cry with this show, and I did.
Yeah, that was a really powerful moment.
There's a scene where they show all of the characters going up to Hitomi, and they each show like a little bit of a trinkle of what that friendship was to her, and that fucked me up. I don't know if it's the same scene, but that one messed me up.
Yeah, there was good shit in the last episode, basically.
There was.
All I'll say is that book. That
fucking
book.
book.
Yeah.
The book is what made me cry a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, the book got me too. I was kind of on a train of feeling kind of emotionally compromised, and the book destroyed me. We'll talk about that in spoilers.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I agree. I think that the story definitely has some really moments where it shines. It's just unfortunate there are some bumps along the way where it could have been something that was really different, if not masterful, and then you just have these little things that are holding it back and kind of ruin the experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Pete. I think that most of the characters I liked being there. I don't think that they need to be erased. I just wish either one, more time was spent with some of them, because I feel like Chigusa and Kirumi are criminally underutilized.
Yes.
I think that we could have had a couple episodes dedicated to them, and I would have been totally okay with that, because they have the most real chemistry out of any of the couples in the show. And as much as I don't like Asagiri, or whatever her name is, I do like her struggle, and I do like her struggle with wanting to show off her art. I thought that was an interesting little tidbit of her character, that she is talented but doesn't know how to really show it.
Yeah.
So I think that all of these characters bring something unique to the table, and I think they're all very interesting. I think that just the way some of them are utilized, it's just unfortunate. I would have rather had an arc about... Is her name Asagiri?
Asagi, are you talking about, right?
Asagi. Okay. I would have liked an arc about Asagi overcoming her social anxiety and like having an art presentation, or like the stuff they did at the end with her selling her postcards, than this stupid fucking love triangle, because it ruined her character for me.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think that all of the characters in the show are good. I don't think any of them need to be erased. I just wish that some of them weren't utilized in the way they were, and I wish some of them were utilized more.
I agree completely.
Yep.
I also hate romance as a subplot. It just is frustrating me. If you want to have a romance show, have a romance show, but throwing it in at the end just makes it look sloppy.
Yeah. It's just not, especially if you're gonna very lightly like dabble in it. Like I won't go into spoilers, but for all of the buildup that they bring with the stupid love triangle, like at the end it doesn't even reach.
There's no payoff.
Anything.
There's no fucking payoff.
And I was
None.
so mad. Not that I even was invested, but it was just like, this just shows how stupid this is. Like,
it's wasting your time.
Yeah.
It's blatantly wasting your time, which is unfortunate.
So, just to add my 2 cents into this, like, at first, when I was first watching this, I was kind of frustrated as well, too, where they introduce romance, but there, like you said, there's no payoff. You don't know what happens except for, like, one couple, but, like, the thing I had to remind myself is that, like, that's it. It's a subplot where the main plot about this is a sort of coming of age story theme for people wanting to know where their place is, especially at a time when some of them are about to leave high school. And I felt like, at least in terms of that payoff, like, while it wasn't a huge success, I think it was success enough that I was content with it. And I think, like, the romance subplot, at least in this case, was more to help add the benefit of, like, the giving, I get chemistry for the circle of friends, at least for me. Whereas whether it leads to something or not, it kind of adds to the dynamic, at least in my opinion, to helping these people feel a little bit more real in some cases, whereas other, not so much. It feels, like you said, tropey, like Asagi, but, you know, that's a totally different thing. But, like, yeah, I think it was, I think I was fine when thinking about it over again.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. But for me, I think that the places that this story and its characters shine the most are when they're showing of the interpersonal connections between the characters going on trips, going on photography trips, seeing who they are as people, learning what it is that they value in each other and in themselves. And that's where it shines. There's no reason to spend 3 episodes on a love triangle.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we wish there was more episodes.
I don't even think there needs more episodes. I think they need to cut that and then go and finish the story.
Yeah, I feel like as far as striking a balance between having romance as a backdrop and character interactions, I feel like they did that perfectly for me with Kurumi and Chigusa, but like...
Exactly!
Yeah.
They could have done that!
Yeah, like, they could have had the other things between other characters, but be in the background and not have to be the main central, like, a plot line for, a good chunk of the series. Like, because you could still tell they had that chemistry, but we didn't need this whole buildup of like, oh, are they gonna confess? Are they, so.
I get that.
Oh,
Yeah.
will they, won't they?
Yeah. You're just kind of like, yeah, they like each other.
Yeah.
And each of these characters has something interesting about them that a romance subplot isn't even needed. Like, Sho's going on to leave school, and he's going to have to leave his friends behind and move on to the next part of his life and leave the photography club behind. That's a fucking story right there that they didn't bother to bank on. Again, with Asagi, she had terrible social anxiety and terrible self-esteem. That's a plot line. Go run with that. Have them fix each other that way. But they decided to make it into some stupid thing about... And the thing that frustrated me, too, with Sho is, like, literally, that's all he was there for at some point.
Sho? Completely.
Like, that's it. Like, they easily could have done something more with him, but it was just, oh, he's the one who has a crush on so-and-so.
Yep.
And then after he gets rejected, he's the butt of all of everybody's jokes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, and that was criminal to me, because he seemed so interesting, and there was so much they could have done with him.
Yeah. And the thing
no.
I actually liked about him is that he actually, I felt like he was honest as well too, like in terms of like where he wanted to make sure he had no regrets or anything like that, and I respected him for him and on that. But then, as you say, he becomes sort of the butt of that. They bring that up like a few times, like, come on, man, don't kick the guy while he's down.
Yeah, for sure. And that's all his character is anymore. Like, there's nothing of importance that he ever does in the story outside of that.
On the flip side of that, can I say I'm so happy with how Kohaku's character was handled? Because
Yes!
from a lot of the key visuals in the opening, I was so worried that she was going to come in and be another love triangle of some sort. Just like
Yes.
the way that they were framing things before she even came in, I was really worried. But nope, she comes in, she's supportive, she is hardworking, she's cheerful, she adds a great energy to the cast. I love her.
She
She's
just
good.
wants everyone to be
too.
happy.
Yeah.
Actually,
Something I want to add of what Kohaku was one of my favorite moments on her is that when Hitomi was down, she said, "Hey, can you tell me what star you are?" And so she does a star rating for her, and she gives her a very generic, like, "Hey, you know, great things will come towards your way pretty soon." And like Hitomi's like, "That sounds really vague." But then later on, when Kurumi is having a hard time, Hitomi does the same exact thing that Kohaku did by doing a star reading for her and saying the same corny like reading to her, and she Kurumi like picks up on it. She's like, "Oh man, why am I having my underclassmen like, you know, like worry about me?" It's just like that sort of thing. Like Kohaku like brings out some good things around for the people around her, and like does a lot of good for the group.
yeah, for sure. Actually, this might be a good time for us to talk about who our favorite characters in the cast were, because I do know that John over there has Kohaku as his current icon of choice. So maybe you can talk about the things that you really liked about her, John.
Yeah, so from the beginning, after Kohaku in the future sends Hitomi to the past, it's like, what? Why did you do? You've just done this thing, and you've even sent her to apparently the wrong time, because you're not actually there to help out. But then the Kohaku of the past finally enters in the picture, and we finally start to learn a bit more about her and the wacky hijinks that she gets up to with her magic, and she just bounces into the screen as this like really fun, bubbly character, and very quickly makes it a point saying like she wants to make people happy with using her magic, or in any way that she can, and just the best way that she finds she can makes people happy is using her magic. And then you end up, but there's more to her than just being this happy, bubbly character. She actually does have moments of doubt, moments of struggle as she's trying to figure out how to help everyone out. And I just really ended up latching onto her.
She's like a big sister character, and I always latch on to the big sister characters. Like, she's the one who, you know, she's not a know-it-all, but she knows enough to help everybody around her. She inches people in the right direction. It's not just limited to Hitomi as well. She also interacts with Asagi in her moments of turmoil and a few others, to not necessarily give them advice, but to kind of nudge them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And she just has this concern for everyone around her, even though she seems like she's just kind of got her head in the clouds occasionally. And I loved that about her. She was very complicated. And I do like that her wanting to make people happy with magic comes around with adult Kohaku as well. And I really wish they had done more with that, actually.
Yeah.
That's a sad thing, is that they have this really interesting thing about Kohaku only wanting to make people happy with magic, and there's a point in her life where magic is what ruined a relationship, a very important relationship of hers, but we only get to know about it. We don't get to see any resolve. We don't get to see how that makes her feel other than a few tears on screen. And that's unfortunate, because that's so interesting. Kohaku is so interesting.
And like,
Yeah.
it could have easily been that she was just this one-dimensional character of like, oh, happy bubbly, wants to make everyone happy with magic, and that's it. But they did manage to make her so interesting and so layered, and just bring so much context to everything that happens regarding her. and just yeah, she's a good girl.
As speaking of good girls, I see a Kurumi hanging out with us as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Kurumi and how she appealed to you, Cammy?
Sure. Yeah. So I was conflicted between two characters because honestly, I really love both Kurumi and Chigusa, and quite a lot of the time they operated as a unit, and I really enjoyed like their banter every time that they were on screen. And I think that Kohaku also kind of falls into that. I feel like there were definitely characters that were more like soft and passive and like quiet. And then you had the lively rowdy bunch. And I really liked the lively rowdy bunch in this show. But I think for the thing that made Kurumi stand out is the fact that we got a bit of insight into what she's dealing with, alongside that she cares about a lot of people. She's very supportive. She also seems to be the type that wants to bear her burdens on her own and not like bother other people with that sort of thing. And I sometimes I have a soft spot for that. It's kind of like she kind of reminded me a little bit of like Asuka in the second season of Hibike Euphonium in that way. And I just kind of like that character role. She's fun, she's cute, she is a good girl, and she's supportive of the other people around her. Like, for as much as I love Chigusa, and I don't necessarily see this as a detriment, but I think the show near the end tries to frame him as like insensitive and blunt, and I was kind of upset by that. Like, I wanted them to see that he did still care. Like, people got offended because he said something about you should smile more, but like he is also well developed and is observant, and I do wish that he'd gotten just as much exposure as Kurumi did, and both of them needed more.
For sure. Well,
Yeah.
You can't really talk about Kinumi without talking about Chigu, so you want to shed some light about what you liked about his character, Pete?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to bring up, like, as you said, Cammy said before, it's hard to talk about Korean without Chigusa because they sort of had, like, you know, you get one, you get the other, because their dynamic with banter and stuff is so good and, like, one of, like, the highlights of the show. But I also like Chigusa for, like, a lot of different moments, like, to go back actually to that one moment, Cammy, that you brought up about, like, at the end where it seemed like he was, like, insensitive or blunt, you know, when he says, like, you gotta smile more. I actually really like that moment because it sort of stood out, like, different from the others, because it's, first of all, like, I didn't expect that because, like, I thought, like, oh, it was gonna be, like, very emotional, but I feel like, to me, like, that's his way of trying to be strong and saying something kind of to lighten the mood, and that just sort of seems like his sort of character, to sort of, like, be the guy to, you know, break a joke, or, like, you know, say, like, hey, you should smile more, you have a really good smile and stuff. And I mean, he probably is also very legit about that as well too. I don't know, that just seems like part of his character on that I like about that. And I feel like he's like the guy in, like, the backstage supporting everybody, like when he's working with Aoi at the store. Like, you know, there was that one time when I think he told me he was going on a date with Sho, and there was Aoi was like, oh yeah, you know, nothing about it, and he goes over to the cash register, like, okay, yeah, and sorry sir, that's like $1,000 for, like, that thing. And then, like, she goes like, hey, you gotta move the decimal.
that bit was very funny.
Yeah, for sure. So it's just he's kind of like the keeping in check guy. But then I also really liked him in episode, like, 8 with, like, when it goes into Kurumi. Like, he's obviously, like, really concerned, you know, about how Kurumi is, like, worrying about her future, but he's there to say, hey, you know, you don't have to worry about finding your passion right now. You got plenty of time to do that. And he was there to give her that, like, that pep talk and stuff. And she even, like, remembers about it. She has a flashback to that moment as well, too.
When she remembered that fucking got me. I was like, ooh. See, that's the good romance shit. That's how you do it.
Like,
exactly. You know, so yeah, good on you, Chigusa. Good on you on that.
There was so much natural chemistry between Chigusa and Kurumi that's like that. They're the true OTP of this series, in all honesty.
Yes.
I'm-
I like Kohaku ex Bookkeeper, but I mean they're also very good.
Yep.
We could talk more intricately about that ship and spoilers, I feel, because there's a few things that I'd like to say. But I agree, joking aside, they have the most chemistry, at least romantic chemistry, in the entire cast, and yet they didn't decide to have a subplot about it. I remember there's actually a point where one of the characters looks at her and is like, "Are you okay with things how they are?" And Kirumi's like, "Yeah, this is cool. Chill. We do our thing."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Thank you.
God.
You showed that we do not need to make this dramatic. I'm so proud of you. Why do you do it with everybody else?"
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, I really think that those three characters are amazing. I do want to take a couple of moments to talk about Hitomi, who is our lead character. I think that she came out as one of my favorite characters because I was expecting her to be my least favorite character. Mostly because I have this thing where I tend to care. I think Cami has mentioned this before, but it's something we both have where we tend to care more about the side characters than the main characters. It's just something that happens. So I came in and I'm like, oh great, we've got someone who's basically a doll character who has no emotions, and depressed characters don't have to be blank slates, but that's how they present her. And that made me worried. I was very, very worried. I was worried that she was going to be boring, and I felt that her character development was going to be forced. And even when I passed this show, that was my biggest worry. However, I think that the first half of the show does a really great job of introducing her to this group of friends, integrating her quickly, and start having her make connections with each person individually. I think they should have spent more time fleshing out each interaction she had with each character.
Yes.
However, her connection with Aoi on a friendship level and as someone who's healing the other as people was so poignant to me. And I mentioned in episode 6, it came to a head. I liked the story better when that's where they were going with it. And that's as much as I'm going to say without going into spoilers. I think that connection and the build up to it in the first half up to episode 6 was some damn good character storytelling. I was so in. And I was so in love with Hitomi because I felt like I could relate to her a little bit. I felt like she was a person and a human who really just had some problems that she didn't know how to deal with and was learning through others how she could really be the best her. And that's so good!
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in the first half, there were just some good steps that I think that she took. While I think for the most part, I really enjoyed her journey and her resolve the most, rather than necessarily like how she acted as a character. But I loved like what she went through and how she came out of it by the end. There's one part where she reveals a secret that she's been holding on to everybody, and I was like so proud of her, you know, like seeing those moments where she literally, like, you knew that she cared about these people and she took steps herself to change, and I really, really appreciated that with her.
I also loved her interactions with Kohaku. I felt that they were very, it feels weird to say this, but kind of like naked in nature. They were like very bare. Like this was the only person that she could really turn to and be herself to before she revealed it to everybody else. And that connection meant a whole lot to me as well, even though it's not the one that is most played up, of course, but it just felt so genuine. They felt like a family.
Yeah.
It felt like a raw, beautiful moment every time they were alone on screen together. And that helped with some of the story that I didn't like towards the end. Like, for example, they introduced this. I should have mentioned this in story, but they introduced a thing towards the end with the time travel, with time gaps. And they introduce it just to rush the ending as quickly as possible. Yeah. And as soon as they introduce that it's a problem, it doesn't come up again. But during that time, Kohaku is genuinely concerned and terrified. And I think that at least in that regard, they communicated that well. I hated that story point, by the way. I thought it was stupid and contrived and just pointless. It was just there to push the story along, and I get that, but it was just so poorly executed that I was frustrated.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that a little later, but it just felt like it was just a sudden boogeyman to come out to get, oh, I'm going to get you, Hitomi.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get stuck in time and whatnot. Granted.
We can go into, like, specifics on it and spoilers, but yeah, it's just it's like you said, the boogeyman that's there to scare you, and then it goes back under the bed and never comes back again because we don't need you anymore. We're just setting up this emotional impact that you're supposed to have.
We got to force that rushing somehow. We got scared him into it.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, for sure. I liked Hitomi as a character. I like how you framed that. I liked her journey. I think I did like her journey a little bit more than aspects of her character per se, but I felt good about her character.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to.
Yeah.
So
I agree as well too. Like I do like Hitomi quite a bit, and like I was saying, this is a coming of age story, and like that was the theme for her, is to learn to grow, to become more confident with herself, to get past her inner demons or the things that she's been holding on to. And she does. She gets through that. And it's great to see that. And even the characters themselves, they notice it as well, and they comment on that. Like even Sho, like, you know, when they're taking pictures together on that date and stuff like that, and he's saying like, man, you've changed a lot. And she's like, oh no, I don't think I did. No, he even said like, you used to be like this doll, but now you are actually like, it feels like you are becoming your own person now, and like it's very evident with everyone else. So yeah, I like where Tommy was.
Sure. So I think overall we for the most part we enjoyed most of the characters here. Let's because we're running a bit long, let's slip into production, because I think this is going to be a big chunk too, because the show is so fucking purty. It is so purty. It is so goddamn purty, and I would like us all to have just a moment to talk about how purty it is.
It's purty.
Sure is.
As mentioned earlier, there was the whole thing with colors. Like, there was so much visual storytelling in this series.
That feel when you're trying to find the golden fish in every scene.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
When I actually found it in the opening, I fucking freaked
Same.
out. Because I watch the opening every time, and you don't notice it. But if you watch the opening, there is a section where the golden fish is just, like, flying around all the different walls and coloring everything, and I'm like, you fucking geniuses.
Like, I saw the patterns.
Fucking geniuses.
I saw the patterns. I was like, oh, pretty patterns. That's cool. And then it was like, wait. That's the fucking golden fish. Fuck!
It's everywhere! Speaking of which, this opening was great. I loved the opening a whole lot.
Yeah, it's good. The song and the animation, stuff like that. Just lots of good feels with that opening.
I will say, in contrast, I didn't really care much for the ending, but it was a bunch of stills, and Amazon wouldn't let me watch it anyway.
Right?
Yeah,
they kept trying to skip you out of it.
Yep.
Although it did do the...
Eventually, I just let it. I'm just like, okay, Amazon.
It did eventually
Yeah.
do the thing where the ending theme started playing before the actual ending started.
Episode ended.
If that one, forget while there's still scenes going on, you got the ending theme playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did do that a couple times.
I think the opening grew on me, but I don't think that for me the opening and ending were a highlight of the show, and
Not
I
really.
actually think I liked them used the best as insert songs in like the last episode. And I
yes.
again, just because I fucking live for that shit, but like I was like, dang, these do make really good emotional set pieces when like things are happening.
May I reiterate the book?
Yeah,
The book.
yeah, fucked me right up, fuck me right up.
The book is now Cammy's trigger word.
Oh
The
my
book.
god. I was trying to explain it to Get over barbecue, and I'd had like a beer, and I like started crying when I talked about animals coming and saying things, and anyway, sorry.
Hold yourself together, Cammy. You could do this. But yeah, the show is gorgeous, not just in its openings and endings, but the backgrounds in
Yes.
the show are beautiful. They're gorgeous. Everything looks different and new on every single new scene. The boats, the water, the
fireworks.
everything that included infrastructure or something that wasn't the characters themselves was absolutely beautiful. I think that the character designs were also nice, but there were moments of stiffness in the show, probably because they were bleeding the budget everywhere else.
Yeah.
But it still looked nice. Like, it was a nice package.
Yeah, like especially like when they're on that bridge and seeing the whole entire night view of the town and stuff and the ship and everything like that, and when you're trying to get good shots, man, it's breathtaking. Some of those scenes.
I feel like you nailed it with the infrastructure comment, Cassie, because I was just going to say the backgrounds, the scenery, and the atmosphere was my favorite part of the production. Along with like the backgrounds and infrastructure and everything. Anytime that they used like practical effects, it was to a very good use, and it looked really well. Obviously, like the colors, some sparkles, and like lighting work, that sort of stuff was really nice.
It was a really nice touch. Like, PA Works knows their shit.
Yeah.
Most of the shows that I've watched, there's that I don't even like. I'm like, wow, this was pretty.
So, so I guess can I say that it colored us impressed?
Ha! There were some derpy faraway shots that I noticed, but you're gonna catch those in most animes. It just made me laugh because everything else is so breathtakingly beautiful, and sometimes you just see a derp face in the background, and it's like
CG crowds.
I don't know. It just made it stand out even more. It was like, wow, I can in the scene where Hitomi is talking to all of them in the park. It's one of the last scenes. There's a few faraway shots of her talking to the people, and she just looks like a weird, I don't know, face morphing creature. It's very funny.
Yeah. I think for me, the weakest part of the show was the character designs. I wasn't a huge fan. But like at worst, like when the faces were really off model, I was like, oh, I'm watching Suki Gakire. But I think that just has to. I think. I think
oh,
for
so
me,
it's a good thing. Okay, alrighty.
Oh my God, Pete. I think for me what it is it's the very small eyes. They're very far apart. The nose kind of comes in and comes out. The style of like the way that they decided to structure the faces just reminded me of Suki Gakire. But like at the same time, again, the atmosphere just pretty much carried regardless. So I liked it.
Yeah, for sure. I liked the character designs. I didn't like how they moved most of the time, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Everything else looked really, really nice.
Yeah.
The voice acting also was pretty dang good. I watched it in Japanese. I don't think this has an English dub.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think.
I think it might be a nice one to have an English dub if they ever decide to bring it over. I think it would be nice.
Yeah. I'd watch it.
I might too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I was thinking we'd spend more time on this, but it's all good for the most part, except for a couple little things here and there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I'm with Terry, though. I would love to hear you sing that opening, Tammy. I would love that.
Aw, that's sweet.
Put it on the list.
I'll scribble it down. I will scribble it down.
There it goes.
Honestly, production-wise, I think, and I might be the only one, but this opening fucking made me want to cry sometimes, especially because I read the lyrics, and they chose, like, perfect, like, lyrics for the fucking song, too, and it just goes along with the show, and it's progression, and I'm a fucking sap, and everything's fine!
I'm kind of with you, because, like, the opening, like, I think it's got me very emotional when I was watching it first, but I think the scene that got me the most is seeing that scene with all the friends in the front, and they're all, like, interacting with each other, and I thought, oh, this looks so sweet, and it also looks so good as in the sunset and everything like that, and at the apex of the song as well, too, so it was just a good moment.
Yeah, I liked it a whole lot. So do we want to move on to final thoughts and ratings? Because I do think we're going to need time for a spoiler room.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I get to go last because I passed this baby. But I guess first on the chop... You know, Pete, you're new here. You're new on the block. Let's hear your thoughts.
Okay. Sure. So for me, I would give it a very strong like it. For me. So I think, as we've all said before, the production of this is really, really like awesome, and like they just did a wonderful job on the music, the settings and everything like that. But then there's also strong like characters for me, where at least where we could say we all liked them to agree. But for me, like there was like some very standout moments with certain pairs of people, and even for the ones that weren't as much, they played some sort of role, but in the end I was left really liking this cast of characters, very genuinely interested on how they felt for each other, and just seeing Hitomi as well too, just to try to grow into a better person, someone who is very sure of herself, and just I think about that time when she was on that train, like going back in time first, and where she was very scared and unsure about what was going on. But then she was on the train going back home, and she was just like, I'm ready to go back. Like I feel good. And just like, just feeling that sense of like, like the show accomplished what it needed to do. And I feel like for the most part, like I had a really good time watching that for Hitomi, and just seeing the adventure and like the interactions with all the other characters. So I just had a really good time with that as well too. So yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. All right, John, how does it feel to be driven under the bus? Because that's where you at. Or train. Whichever one is transporting you back in time. One of them ran you over. How you feel?
Oh my god.
Tell me what your thoughts are.
I think I pretty much echo what was just said. A very strong like it for me. For the most part, I really enjoyed all the characters and their interactions. It's so pretty, so much I enjoyed about this series, and yeah, I cried. I'm gonna say it right now. I cried. But
Pat.
yeah, there were just, unfortunately, a few bits that kind of held it back from me giving it a full love it. Which are things I think we're gonna probably talk about in Spider Room, but I won't go into those now. But yeah, it's a really good series. Seeing Hitomi's character growth, learning about Kohaku, getting those puzzle pieces about Aoi, even if I wish there were a few more pieces. And again, the interactions between Chigusa and Kurumi. There was so much about this series that I just really enjoyed. That I can't give it anything less than a like it. I wish I could give it a love it, just unfortunately there were things stopping me from doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cammy, you up.
Sure thing. So I really loved what this show tried to do. It had meaningful messages to convey, a creative world in which it could convey them, and moments that really executed them well. On a whole, I don't really see myself going back to watching it or recommending it over other certain pieces like March Comes In Like a Lion or the manga Orange, and I say those just for the topic that it addresses. Sometimes for me, the narrative roadblocks made the show feel kind of like a slog to get through. If they had abandoned a certain love triangle, leaned into some more like quiet character interactions, and paced Hitomi's backstory more throughout instead of kind of just at the end, I could see myself giving it a like it. But as is, I will give it a solid check it.
Perfect. All right. So now for me. I was so prepared to fall in love with this show. I really was, because I was worried when I first got in. I was so worried about Hitomi, but by the end she made me so happy. And I was so ready to just love the shit out of the show. The problem is I was so on board the love train to all the way up to episode 6, and then the second half of the show was nothing but pain for me. I had no enjoyment in it whatsoever. I will admit there was some payoff towards the end that got a few tears out of me, mostly because I'm a huge sap, and they used a lot of really unique tools to bring that out of me. And for that, I give it the kudos that it does deserve. I also do believe the show is beautiful, and I might recommend it to somebody who's looking for something pretty with not a lot of substance, even though I do think there is some substance here. But that would be where my recommendation ends, because there's so much better stuff out there that I could be recommending to people. Like Cammy said, either like the manga for Orange, or March Comes In Like a Lion, or Rakugo Shinju.
Oh my god!
Or honestly, even from the same studio, I think that Nagi no Asakara did a much better job of making me care even when the love triangles were contrived.
I agree completely.
Because I cared so much more about the characters, and I don't think they made me care a lot about some of the plot points they were trying to convey, and I was really upset when they jumped off the healing through art and friendship and the love that is expressed between friendship and companionship as soon as they hopped on a completely different train into Nowhere Land, I kind of fell off the fun boat, and I was very, very disappointed. And that disappointment may be due to my own poor expectations, and that's my fault. But I still felt disappointed coming out of the show instead of happy coming out of the show. And for that, I'd also give it a check it. I think that the show does have some things about it that help it stand apart, but it just derailed itself in its final half.
Yeah, I don't think that your expectations or your disappointment are a fault either. I think that's totally valid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunate because I think that the show could very easily have been a like it, or if it followed up on the stuff that it was doing up until episode 6, it could have easily even been a love it. This show has so many components that are just such Cassie things. Mm-hmm. You know, hashtag just Cassie things. There's a lot of them here.
I'm gonna start that Twitter on Twitter. It's gonna be my tag, my tag game.
It had such potential to just blindside me with so many things that I could unconditionally love, but unfortunately it fell short and bumped it down several rankings than I thought I was going to give it even just a few days ago. So yeah, I will give it a check it, but I will recommend another show that I just mentioned, made by the same studio, PA Works, called Nagi no Asukara, or Nagi no Asukura, however you want to pronounce it, or say it, or scream it from a mountaintop. It is also beautiful, has, like Cammie mentioned early on in the show, a kind of fantastical element in it, that there are some people who live under the sea and can breathe underwater and live down there, and then you've got the land dwellers and how their, like, interaction happens between them and the circumstances that lead them to have different opinions. It also suffers from some contrived love triangles, but I was more invested, and that's because I believe that Nagi no Asakara does a really good job of character building and making you care about every single one of its characters. I don't feel, in hindsight, that there were not many characters that I didn't feel like I came out feeling like, man, they really deserve some more screen time outside of one or two. Yeah. So, if you really liked World in Colors, I would recommend you go check this out, or maybe even check it out before you check out Iroduku, because I feel like it's a better show. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I hope everybody had a fun time, and I hope especially Pete had a fun time. We haven't had him here in a while.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was great.
Sweet. We will hopefully be having him on more in the future, but if you do want to hear more of Pete, you should go ahead and roll over to soundcloud.com/saveourprogress, where you can listen to him, our other host, Craig, and our other host, occasionally, Zach, and our not yet often host, Paul. We should get him on an episode. That'd be fun.
Yes. Yeah. He has some, really, he has a very distinct taste in anime, but he has a lot of, interesting things to say when he does. So I would say that'd be a really cool thing.
For sure. The point is, we kidnap them a lot, so you should definitely go check out their stuff. They do a great job here, and they definitely do an amazing job over there. They also recently did an episode where they talked about their impressions for the previous season and the current season of anime, so go check that out.
Yeah.
I will plug them again in a couple of minutes when I get through our other social links, because I didn't plug them throughout the episode like I was planning to.
It's all good. I think you're all good on that.
I failed you. But anyway, guys, we're going to slip into a spoiler room, but before you go, if you don't want to hang around with us, we do have a couple of social links of our own. Our Twitter is at twitter.com/AnnieChatbox. That's where Dominic keeps everything up to date and maintained. It's where we'll post when they will post when we have episodes come out, when we have changes to our Patreon, when one of us gets a really interesting fortune cookie. It's fun to follow us there, so definitely go check it out. Well, we're going to try and be a little bit more open with our social media and asking questions and interacting with you guys too, so please follow us there so we know who to talk to. It'll be fun. Also, if you want to talk to us in another way or have your email read on the air, you can send us an email at anniechatmail@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on one thing, there's many other ways you can listen to us, often at the same time if you do so desire. We are on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So if you want to listen to us on YouTube in one ear and on SoundCloud on the other, hey, be my guest. I don't know why you would, but hey, you're a weirdo.
We won't judge.
And if you feel... I only judge a little bit. Mostly because you're going out of your way to inconvenience yourself if it desyncs, God forbid. But anyway, if you're feeling it within your heart of hearts to donate to us, you can do so at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox. We have some great patrons in Sarah, CorpsyAnn, Carol, Suki, and Paul. Without them, we wouldn't all have the same microphone now. So thank you guys so much. We're looking towards what new things we can do with those muns in the near future. So stay tuned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, if you would like to listen to Save Our Progress, it is at soundcloud.com/SaveOurProgress. We thank you so much for joining us on episode 111 of Annie Chatbox. But for now, unless you want to be spoiled on this beautiful, wonderful world of colors, you might want to exit stage left.
Nice. Very nice.
All right, guys. I hate that they turned this into a romance story at the end. I hated it so much.
So when you talk about like all the way up to episode 6, were you thinking that they weren't going to take Hitomi and Yuito to a romantic route?
I saw that they could. I just hoped that they wouldn't.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
I was praying so much. And as the show kept going, I knew that they were going to. But the thing is that after that episode, they have almost no scenes together.
Yeah.
Next to none. So how do you make me believe in a romance plot between them when they hardly ever interact? And then they have this whole emphasis on, will I tell her? Will I not tell her?
Yeah.
And that ends up being the key that leads to her breaking her spell or whatever at the end and opening up her heart or whatever. And I get it. And it's fine. That's just not what I wanted. It just wasn't. I just thought that they were good as companions and people who were suffering for their art. I thought that was good. Why did they have to do this? And if they were going to do it, why didn't they commit better?
Yeah. That's kind of my thing, and I rambled about it a little bit, probably not clearly, but like, yeah, I always thought they were gonna go romantic, but like, they just didn't execute on it well, and I'm like, if you wanted me to care about them romantically, you should have executed it better with like you said, more scenes. Yeah, like, and even just the degree of which Aoi has passivity with like anything romantically involved with her to then suddenly have that be a whole thing was really frustrating. I also got really fucking mad at the whole like will they won't they, and he literally wouldn't even say it till the last minute, and I'm like, she's gonna fucking leave, can you just speak your goddamn mind like Chigusa and Kurumi do? Like
Yeah, and it's just like, it doesn't even really have an ending per se. It's just, I love you too. Too bad you die, I guess. Like, I there was no way that was going to work.
I mean, for me, I think them saying that I love you was just more just to say a moment of finality, for just to say, hey, I just want to be honest with this is how I'm feeling, even though nothing's going to happen of it. But it's just kind of like, I felt like they were still content at it, because the more important thing was the getting like part of that route was getting past like Kurumi on like why she hates magic and stuff like that, and for Aoi on like why he stopped drawing her and didn't have passion for drawing as well too. Like, those are bigger takeaways where it feels like the romance was kind of a side effect of that path as well too.
yeah.
But
on
they don't
that.
show it. They also don't really build on how she helped him with his drawing either. Like, they kind of did, but they didn't. They more spent time on Hitomi, which is fine.
Yes.
But then they spent too much time on this stupid fucking love triangle, and then they never really spent much time with Aoi or his feelings towards Hitomi or anyone else for that matter. Like, he was non-existent for practically half the show.
Like
So-
I said, sometimes I forgot he was there.
So for the love triangle thing, I think for me, maybe why I didn't like, I see the issues like from you guys talking about it. For me, I thought that was more so of an interesting, like, while it wasn't executed the best, I felt like I was okay with it, mainly because it was, for me, a more of a Sagi thing for her trying to learn to like her character to think, because she mentions herself that, you know, this is my fault on this is because I didn't come up on, you know, to confessing before and stuff, and she makes a commentary on herself that this is on me, even though like before she's like, I know, like, I have no right to be mad at Hitomi or anything like that. I feel like while the love triangle brought upon those like moments where it made me like Asagi more, where she, you know, by the end of it, she says like to shows like, hopefully maybe one day I can learn to be confident and, you know, tell a person, you know, how I feel as well too. From that,
that bit frustrated me because it showed she didn't learn anything.
Yeah, same.
She learned, wow, I should probably make a move or somebody else is going to get that. She actually says that to Hitomi and then literally does nothing.
Yeah, I like, if anything, I would have preferred it if they basically implied that she got over it and she's like, I'm gonna move on.
Yeah,
that would have been
or
better.
Moved on. Yeah, that would have even been better. Like, why should I wait around for this dude who hasn't noticed I've had a crush on him for the last fucking 5 years? Like, I like Show and all, but he ain't worth your time, baby cakes. Move on.
Baby cakes.
I think for me, the thing was is that it seemed like she was like a surface level content of like being safe with how things were, and probably was like, oh, you know, we're friends and I like how we are. I don't want to ruffle this. And she probably didn't like think about like confessing before. At least this is what I thought at the time. But then when she saw the threat of like, oh, you know, this actually show can be actually taken away, she was like, okay, well, I should probably do something about this. And I feel like at least when she made that comment, she's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to, you know, change this as well too. Whereas I felt like before she was content where she is and not having to change. I don't know.
Yeah,
at least that's what I thought.
I don't think she was ever content, because she makes comments to Kurumi and others saying she's just too scared to say something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
that's true.
So I don't think she was ever content with the situation. She just didn't know how she should approach confessing because she was too scared of what the change would be. I don't think she was ever content. I think she may have reached that level of contentment after the situation with Hitomi, but at that point, I think she's just become complacent.
Well, and even if that is really the level to which they are going to develop her character, like, I can totally see the development you're talking about that she went through. But like, if it's going to be that subtle, we didn't need to spend all that fucking time on it.
Yeah,
like, give me more fucking
reason.
Kurumi and Chigusa. Like, they had less time, and they also didn't have huge development, but it felt good. It felt natural. It didn't feel forced. And they spent so fucking long on the Asagi and all of that for nothing.
So
she also got mad because he brought fucking fried chicken to a friend party. Like, could you maybe chill, girl?
So just curiosity, just for this, I think like for the comments like this taking so long, like I'm guessing mainly because of how this was sort of the background, kind of lingering on for a bit, like the jealousy, because I feel like this was like in forefront when it became to the episode where Sho asked Hitomi out on a date, and that took up a whole entire episode. But then there was at the big end of it is that Hitomi like had. I still like the episode because the thing is Hitomi, like, instead it could drag on even more in other shows, but Hitomi actually like she actually gathers out her what you call her thoughts and goes to tell shows, I respect you and everything like that, but I just don't see that. And while that helps Hitomi in terms of her character building on that. And then I don't know, at the end of it, there was still the thing with Asagi, but that gets resolved within 5 minutes in the next episode, and that was done on that.
But it was prevalent through the entire show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking
like,
about about the prevalence
like,
in the background you're talking about,
exactly.
right?
Like, it was constant. Like, there were even scenes where we had to have a scene with Kohaku and Asagi saying, hey, maybe you're being too overwhelmed with this situation. Maybe you should take a step back and chill. And like, that took forever. And then she got mad because he brought like fried chicken and brown food to a party with their friends.
Yeah.
And then she got mad whenever he would compliment. That was another thing. Like, afterwards, everybody treated Sho like he was the worst dude ever, when he doesn't even know what she feels.
Yeah. I mean, that is also a problem on that as well too. I don't know. Like, I thought that was sort of like all those like about the food thing and stuff like that. I thought that was supposed to build off onto like what was supposed to be some sort of confrontation which was that episode. So for me, it was something like I was kind of looking forward to because I'm someone who just feeds off of that sort of drama stuff. So I guess for me, I was okay with that.
And
gotcha.
that's fine.
Yeah.
For me, I think it completely detracted from what the show was supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a romance drama. It's just not. And it throwing that in completely ruined the pace of the show for me, and it took up too much time. Like, the show was about healing between Hitomi, Aoi, and the friends who were connected to each other and what their individual problems were and how they helped each other.
Right.
And then it became about, boo-hoo, so-and-so likes so-and-so, and I haven't told so-and-so, so now I'm mad at the girl who had nothing to do with this situation, and I know I'm being a bitch, but I'm still gonna stop going to club and stop talking to her.
And you know what was in the back of my mind, like, the entire time with that triangle? Was I was thinking of Anohana, and I was thinking about, I can't remember her name. The short-haired girl,
Anadu?
Tsuruko.
Anadu.
Is it Tsuruko?
Or Sudoku? Oh,
Yeah.
Sudoku, yeah.
Yeah, who's the friend, and then sees not only with anyway. This situation of, like, the quiet friend, whatever, it within a greater drama context has been done well. Bottom line here, I don't think it was done well. Like, that's
Yeah.
It was not executed at all, and it ruined the anime for me for the most part.
See, I agree that thing was not executed well as well too. For me, just the impact of that didn't distract from me as much as did for you. That's all the thing I'm saying as well too, because I have a bias for that sort of thing. But I do see that there was more potential for other things that are important that could have brought in, like learning more about other characters instead of taking more time on that. I realize that. And it is a shame on that, but I feel like I was more so mostly content with the payoff that there was in this show, where I didn't feel like I was left wanting, like, more to feel like I was at a level of feeling content. There could have been more.
Okay.
But I felt like that could have been icing on the cake for me. But that's just on me, at least, on that. I was mostly content with that.
I think that there is a difference between icing on the cake and completely leaving things unfinished. Because there are a lot of things in the show that are unfinished or were not brought to the table when they should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we are supposed to believe that Aoi is this most important dude, and he's gone for half the fucking show.
Right.
We're supposed to believe that he romantically made some sort of connection with Hitomi. That doesn't happen. We're supposed to believe that the reason that Hitomi doesn't like magic and has locked herself emotionally, physically away from the world is because she lost her connection with her mother because of magic. We spent 5 seconds on that.
Okay.
And yet, we're supposed to defend a love triangle that had the worst resolution ever? That's where my problem is. I think that the love triangle, as annoying as it was, has been done better in other shows, for one, like Cammy said. And the love triangles that happened in Anohana, they weren't the point of the show, but they were done in the background so well that they didn't distract.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
This one did. There's no, in my personal opinion, the love triangle and all of the pointless drama surrounding it took away from something that could have made this anime great. And that's why I have a problem with it.
Yeah. And let me go back on saying that I think it was a poor analogy for saying icing on the cake on that stuff. Because you are right that there are a lot of holes in terms of things that don't make sense in terms of motivation or in terms of, like, what, like you're saying, like about Aoi on his end, we see, or on this. I think for me is that, like, it's kind of hard to put on this as well, because I realize all of that, yet I feel like I don't know. It's
okay for
it's
you
hard
to
to say.
like it,
It's I just feel like it didn't detract it for me for some reason, because I still was content with the good parts of the show that, in terms of emotionally, it did for me as well too. So I didn't feel like compromised, at least on that, at least for me, at least.
And that's fine. Like, different people are going to take different things away from the show.
Right, yeah.
Honestly, if everything else had been wrapped up and everything else had been expanded upon as it should have been, if Aoi was maybe even in the background in any of the fucking shots, maybe I would have felt something more, or I wouldn't have cared as much about the triangle.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that is a problem. But does anybody else have any other spoilers you want to talk about? I think that the stuff with Kohaku and magic ruining her family was really cool, and I would have loved to see more of that. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I do wish there was more on Kohaku as opposed to like that one intro pre the opening in one episode where she's explains why she likes magic, and then they just they kind of didn't continue with that. Like, I thought there was going to be a full Kohaku centric episode, but it wasn't.
Me too. I was so mad.
Yeah.
For me, I was kind of hoping at the very end that maybe we could sort of see, like, after when she got back, maybe just to see a quick, like, snapshot of what everybody was up to at that point, after the whole entire thing. I think that was just me just being selfish because I'm just more so curious on, like, did, people, where did they go from there? What did they try to do? The only thing that I got other than Kohaku was that Aoi went to become this really, like, he made a book at least. He went on to be at least an artist that he made a book, and at least there was that. But I was kind of hoping with all the aspirations that they were kind of having for what they were going to do, or,
we could
what was
see
gonna happen.
what it was.
Yeah, just to sort of see what it was, because it felt like they were sort of building upon, like, that was like, like I was saying, coming of age, like, what am I going to do with my life, and see what they would have done with their life. So, yeah.
There was one other thing about Kohaku that Cassie brought up before we started recording that completely went over my head watching. So, the relationship between Kohaku and Bookseller-san.
Yeah, I would have liked to see some more scenes with them, but it's totally believable that they would be together at the end, which they do show a little clip of them, like, drinking tea, and I'm like, yes, my OTP I didn't even know I had, yes! I'm so happy for them. Is it bad that I feel really super grim and I just think all of the rest of her friends are dead?
I mean, it's not implausible.
They all would be super old by then, like grandparents or even great-grandparents.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. They'd probably be grandparents.
So 76?
Yeah, so they'd be old. They'd be old enough to,
Super old.
Yeah, it's perfectly believable that all her friends are dead.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Kohaku, like, actual in the future Kohaku wasn't like, hey, let's go to the senior center and go visit all your friends.
Yeah, and Kohaku still being alive as she's a mage makes sense.
Yeah. That's what I thought, too.
So something I want to ask about on this, because it sort of deals with her time stuff. So I'm guessing, like, when she grew up and stuff, this, like, stuff happened, so she knew, like, when she was a teenager that she had to go into time magic to make sure that time equivalency happens, where she sends her granddaughter back in time to make sure that her younger life, like, it coincides with that, to make sure that there's no time paradox on that. I'm guessing, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and they touch on that because she has the book of the photos and stuff, and she's like, I couldn't show you this stuff until you already went back, but it is implied that that stuff had already happened because she, in the future, had already sent Hitomi back, so that stuff in the past already happened, so she could send her off again, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like she knew what she had to do because of the rules of time. It's like, well, this happened, now I need to make sure that it follows through in the future on that. So I think that's just kind of interesting on that, because time stuff can get so wildly, like, complicated and stuff like that. In this case, it's very simple. It's just like, something happened in the past, I need to make sure in the future I make that happen. That's it in the story.
There's even the moment where Hitame comments that when Kohaku sent her to the past, it was on the night of a new moon. So
It's also implied that she was collecting stones all the way up until 60 years later.
Damn.
Which is kind of interesting.
That's cool.
So she could do an even more intricate time magic. I thought that was kind of cool, or at least that's what I got from it.
Yeah, I got that impression
Got it.
too.
Oh, one other thing that I want to touch on, because I've been sounding like a super negative Nancy. One thing that I really did like about the ending is that she continued photography. I'm happy that she continued to go to the photography club and chase that passion. I'm happy that stayed there. That made me so happy. That was one thing about the ending, outside of the book, which we should probably talk about.
Jesus Christ.
That really kind of like tugged at my heartstrings that had already been pulled, and I already had tears streaming out of my face, and then I'm like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this now.
And they made it.
I'm so happy.
And they made it.
This is great.
The magic photography art club again after she joined again.
Yeah.
It stayed the hybrid club. I love that.
Yep. And I also do like that when she comes back, when Hitomi comes back, and then they're getting the capsule and the photos and stuff like that. She Kohaku says, "No, you don't have to call me grandma. Call me Kohaku." And I'm like, oh man,
Stop calling me granny.
Yeah.
I don't have to call you granny now. I can finally. It's like back then, all over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that book, huh?
That book.
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
Cammy, I feel like you should talk about it because you have been the most emotionally compromised the entire fucking episode.
I don't know. Like, all of it, I think a lot of it did come down to a lot of the way that it was, like, produced and put together. Like, Cassie, when you said I'm just a sap, it's like, same. One of the little things that they did is that she's reading the book, and then as the different animals come in, they're voiced by the fucking friends representing each animal. And then they montage it with clips of her interacting with, like, each one of the people. And, like, what the animal said is something that they would say. And it was just so fucking sweet. And I think the thing that ultimately just, like, destroyed me was at the end when she read the thing about the penguin thought, oh, what color will I be? And then the penguin's fucking rainbow because that's how people saw her. And, like, now she could value herself. Like, it just, fuck, just
it's
destroyed
so nice.
me.
It's the most, it is, that's the thing that frustrates me so much about this show is because it's got such good moments like that. Such good moments. That moment, this moment's in episode 6, some of the episodes in episode 8 that Pete mentioned, some of the things that are even in episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much good shit in this anime. Why couldn't it be like that all the way through?
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's why I come off of it as, like, it had good things to say, and I like what it came out to say, but did I enjoy the whole anime? Not as much.
Thing is, for me, was I started tearing up during the fireworks, when the colors started appearing with the fireworks. I started tearing up then. Then Hitomi started crying, and that made me start crying, sitting here. And then I just started to calm down with that, and then they pulled the fucking book out.
Guys, I was pretty rough at the time when they were all saying goodbye to her. Because I don't know why. It happened in Anohana too, a little bit more impactfully, when they were all saying goodbye to Menma and saying something nice to her. It was like a watered down version of that, but it still hit.
Oh,
it still
I
was
see
like
that.
it was still like, oh man, they're sending off somebody that they most likely will never ever see again, but was such an important part of their lives, and they all get one last thing to say, and I was like, I'm a mess.
I really loved it when Kohaku just came and pulled her in for a hug and was just, like, very nurturing about it. Like, that was very sweet.
I also got emotional, like, when Asagi was, like, saying, like, I really want more time that we could hang out, be friends, talk, let's go get something to eat and stuff like that. And she, like, at that point was thinking, like, we're gonna be best friends, like, for a long time and stuff. And then, just hearing, like, what she had in mind at the time, like, the plans,
Fucking Kurumi being like, I can't cry and burden you. Like, I'm not gonna do that because I'm your senpai. Just like, fucking good shit. Good shit. And I was happy by the end, basically. That picture book
I was happy too.
That picture book was good shit.
Although,
And then
you've mentioned. Sorry, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just saying, and then you just see Hitomi going to school and actually interacting with people, and I just like, okay, nice.
Yeah,
she's where she should be, and she can.
She didn't revert back to being a loner because she ended up sent to the future when she didn't want to go.
Right. Yeah.
But we've mentioned episode 6 a few times, but like, there was one particular bit about that episode that was quite the gut punch to me in particular, I felt. And it was the visual representation of an art block that just chasing the golden
Was it
fish.
Was it the man? Yeah, like the dark man.
The dark man chasing the golden fish and sinking.
And there's so much stuff that you can take from that, which is cool and also like frustrating because I wish we knew something we could connect to that. But our writer's block or art block is one way to think about it that I hadn't before, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
even before she saw the dark man, as she was heading in that direction, the clouds there end up being like crosses and scribbles on them. Like the scenery slowly changed, and I was like, is this getting to his art block? And then like it got to that dark and dreary place, and it's like, yeah, that's his art block, and I can relate to this, and this hurts.
Another metaphor I did like, even though it was kind of, I feel like they drew on it for a little bit long, but I understood the purpose why they. I understood the purpose why they did. I actually did really like when Yuito found like little Hitomi, and she's drawing these dividers, and he was like, "Oh, well, here, why don't you just take the boat?" And he drew it, and he would put it in front of her, and then she would like toss it aside. There again, that was just good, just good allegory for like the emotional messages in the show.
And then
that was nice.
And when that scene, they went back to that scene after she started seeing colors and the walls crumbling. They showed those pictures, and that thick black border fading away.
That was good stuff.
Yeah. They had some definite potential with this show. And I think that's
one of
that's the moral of the story to me. It's like failed potential is worse than a bad show.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I just get so much more upset.
One thing that makes this series a bit more frustrating is that it does have these bits of potential and they fall short. And it does make it a bit more frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I think the only reason for me is that I didn't have I didn't know what to expect really with this show at the beginning. But if I had seen... Actually, I definitely know what you feel like, because that was like me seeing the first 3 episodes of Hanebado.
Hanebado.
So I can relate.
Hanebado, yet another show that had a lot of really
potential
good potential
that fucking plummeted.
To be fair, I do think that World in Colors is a better show than Hanebado.
Yes.
But
yes,
they are both instances where I came out very frustrated.
Yep, and disappointed. Yeah,
I think this has been a pretty jam-packed episode. So unless anybody has anything else to say, we can probably wrap up. Any other spoilers, guys?
I'm good.
No, I can't think of anything.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Pete. It was nice having you. And for everybody else, it was nice having you, too.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And thank you, viewers at home, for listening. If you've listened to this point, we will be coming back next week with more fun. But for now, we're signing off. Oyasumi.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
See yas.